The session is live now. Malti, you might want to put up the first slide, title slide for everyone to see.
Yeah. Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Please make it
Hi.
full.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. We will begin our session shortly in next 1 minute.
Ankita, you are the host now.
Thank you. Malti, let's start in next 20-30 seconds. People are just joining.
Sure.
All right. Hi, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. With today's session on how to get into product management, we are launching our PM 101 series, which focuses on the basics and foundations of product management. And I have Malti S with me, who is a product management leader with a rich experience and knowledge about the subject. She's also a NASCOM product community member, continuously supporting us in the product skill dev program. Before I hand over to Malti, two more things from my side. You can ask questions anytime during the session. Malti will cater to most of them after her presentation. Also, please do not forget to leave your feedback to help us improve our future episodes. Welcome, Malti, and over to you.
Thank you, Ankita. Hope you can hear me and you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm excited to be here today, talking about the first episode of the PM 101 series that we are launching today. And towards the end, watch out for the calendar that shows up what are the various other topics that we are going to be talking about with some really eminent speakers and some really critical topics for those folks who want to improve their craft, product management skills and the product management craft. So I'm quite excited about doing the first episode for this. So let's get started over this. So just before, I don't have a slide about myself, but just a quick snapshot of my career. I have about like 20 years of experience, with the last 10 plus years focused on product development and product management. And I have built many enterprise legacy products, as well as launch new products in both the enterprise and platform products, as well as the consumer product space. So while I mentor the aspiring PMs as well as PMs who are looking to move to their next levels, this is always a very, very interesting topic, that who should why one wants to get into product management and what they should do rather to improve their craft and to become a great product manager. So I hope you enjoy the conversation today. So before we kind of get into the details of the presentation itself, we have a couple of poll questions, just for me to have an understanding of the audience pulse. So you should have the poll in front of you, which talks about your current role, right? Are you already a product manager? Are you a developer? What do you do today? Right? So please, let's take like 5 seconds for you to answer the question. And Ankita, let us know once you start getting details.
Sure. I have just launched the poll questions.
Okay. So if you are a product manager, and I just realized that I forgot to give that as an option, so probably you can choose business analyst. Probably that is the one which will come closest to that. So yeah. And the second question that we have is that, okay, why do you want to get into product management? Because I'm assuming many of you are aspiring product managers who have their own different reasons to do product management. So what excites you to get into product management?
For the first question, Malti, 17% says developer, 10% for consulting, designer 3%, business analyst 41%, project manager 28%, and 1% goes for marketing. For the second question, 61% people are saying I love solving customer problems.
Okay.
4% are going for I want to move away from coding. 10% says, yeah. 10% says I would like to be more in control.
Okay.
18% I like working with diverse set of people. 8% they have their other reasons.
Okay. And how many did you say to move away from coding?
4%.
Okay. All right. Very interesting.
So now with this, I'm ending the poll.
Right. Thank you, Ankita. Thank you for that. And thanks everybody for giving your inputs. So I think that's kind of a great place to start, where I see most of you already would like to, understand customer space. You would like to solve problems. And many of you are probably already into some or the other kind of product development space, or probably, understanding the business, those kind of space. So this is very interesting. Thank you for sharing that data. So I just wanted to bring in here some, while I was preparing for this talk, very interesting. So this is a data that, analysis that has been done by one of the analysts called Lucilla Ray. And when she kind of went through top 20 product development organizations across the globe, she had some interesting findings. Out of the total number of employees, which I think overall she looked at about 600K employees, what her observation was that there were about 21% of them that you see in the last column is basically the number of developers, right? It is basically the engineering count. And there were about 2.7% of the people who were actually product managers. And of course, you don't need the same number of product managers as you need the number of engineers. But this is just to kind of give you a ratio of that typically across the organization, especially compared to the overall number of employees that you have, apart from the operations and the support functions and all the other, what does typically the ratio looks like, right? So you can see that this is really a small ratio of people across multiple organizations. And if you see on the left, all of them are product companies, right? And let's look on to the right side. What is the background that these product managers come from? You'll be surprised to see that there was only 20% of the people who actually came up with core computer science background. Of course, there were close to, I would say, 30% that you can say that they come from either some or the engineering backgrounds, or they come from, MBA backgrounds, or some kind of a business background. So that's kind of a direct, just a diverse mix of folks who actually do product management. So that is why product management is probably one function which is extremely cross-functional, and there is not one route to become a product manager, right? You will typically see here people coming from sales, pre-sales, development, support, quality, project management. So it's kind of a good mix. So the idea of this slide is because a lot of times when when I talk to aspiring product managers, a question that comes is that I come from a technology background. Is it will I be a good product manager? Can I get into product management? Is MBA really needed to become a product manager? So you can see that a lot of different skill sets are really can be leveraged, and folks are successful product managers. So I hope that kind of gives you a little indication in terms of the backgrounds of product managers. Okay, when we talk about product management, again, as I see that many of you are already in some form or the other, probably involved in building products or solutions that customers love, and many of you are already doing business analyst, you kind of completely align this definition that you see. This is something that I picked up from Wikipedia, that pretty much a product manager or the product management function has its leg into a lot of different domains within the organization, right? And it not only brings people who are in different teams, but it also has to do a lot with the data. It has a lot to do with the process, the way the product lifecycle process goes through. It has a lot to do with the business systems, whether it is finance, whether it is support functions. So in all, product management is an extremely cross-functional role, right? And that is why it is easier for people coming from parallel organizations, and I say functions, to be able to understand, especially those who have been in consulting roles or product development roles, who have interfaced with customers. They find it easy to transition to this role. Before we kind of jump into, how do I get there? What are the skill sets which are needed? I think there are a couple of, I mean, when I talk about myths of product management, you can hear a lot of them, right? But I just wanted to bring a couple of them which I kind of hear very, very frequently. One of them is that a product manager is like a CEO of the product. Okay, that sounds really cool. That sounds really powerful. But when you say like a CEO of the product, that comes with a lot of power, and with the power comes with a lot of responsibility. Now, in a context of making sure that you are doing the right things for your customer, you are bringing the right product, you are making it profitable for your business, you are heading in the right direction of the market, that completely makes sense. But then there is one big caveat that you have in a PM role, is that you saw that in an organization, a PM function is only 2%, right? So PM role is one role which is so much parallel to all the other functions that are there, but it has no control. You are not hiring for those teams. We do not have the power to control the organization structures of that team. So a PM role is a role which is kind of influencing without any authority. So I really need to get a lot of work done from other teams, but at the same time, I do not have the power to control what is happening within those teams, what are the priorities for those teams. So when we say a PM is a CEO of the product, yes, I own it up, I run with it, but then this is not really true in terms of the power, and that is why I said that this is the biggest myth. So I would say a slightly different way of looking at it is that a PM is the one who makes sure that all the aspect of your product life cycle, from the concept until the launch to the adoption, is something that should run. And the PM is the one who's kind of removing all the bottlenecks. Or I remember somebody at one point of time telling me a PM is nothing but a sweeper who makes sure that the road is kind of really laid down for their products, right? So that's number one. Number two is that, okay, if we hire PMs, we know exactly what products to make. We know that what will work in this market. So they are the idea generators. They are the one who will tell us what we need to develop. No, that's not the right thing. What a PM So basically, from where does these ideas come? I'm sure that many of you would have participated in hackathons in your organizations. You would have participated in brainstorming sessions to say that, okay, what should be the next big thing that we want to do, that will improve our product, or just going back to your daily jobs. Let's say, as simple as a thing of booking a taxi. There might be frustrations that you have had where you said that, oh my god, why is it so difficult for me to book a taxi? Why is it so difficult for me to book a let's say a train ticket? Why is it so difficult for me to book a movie ticket? Probably 6 months back, but these days nobody is really going for movies. But what I'm trying to say is that products are, or the ideas come from the daily experiences each one of has, right? So the ideas can come from anybody. It can come from an engineer, it can come from a support person. Just because I remember, probably I can talk about one of the things. In one of my previous organizations, we had the VP of support functions. He was traveling from, in a domestic travel from one city to another, and he just looked around and he saw that people were, nobody, like everybody was on one or the other video call. So that is when, he had that aha moment where he said that people are so comfortable using videos. Why cannot I leverage this opportunity to enable my support guys to be able to deliver better to my customers? So basically what he looked at was that what is that the habits people have. And then he kind of just joined the dots to say, is it something that I can use to improvise my customer service, right? And that was a product, that was an idea which we did a prototype, and over a period of next 1.5, 2 years, overall our product NPS grew by 25 points purely because of the customer service capabilities that we had. So this is something that can come to anybody and anywhere. And what does the role of a PM do? Of course, PM also help in synthesizing and generating new ideas, but there it is the PM's responsibility to make sure that all the great ideas, all the great thoughts that are coming through from different sources, they are kind of synthesizing it. They are identifying the potential for those ideas. They are trying to see, okay, what is the use case that that particular idea is solving for? What is the impact that idea can create? Can I quickly do some dirty prototypes to see whether this will fly with the customers or not? That is where the PM's role comes in terms of collating all this, synthesizing this, and then converting that into, taking that to the next step of converting that with reality with the rest of the team. That's what PMs do, right? So these were a couple of myths that I really wanted to talk about, especially for a lot of those people, who may have this myths when they're thinking about product management. All right, then something on a lighter note, on a day-to-day basis, how does the life of a product manager looks like, right? So I'm sure many of you would have looked at these memes. And actually, if you look at it, when I talked about that a product manager's role is highly, highly cross-functional, that means there are always 100 things in my to-do list that needs to be done as a product manager, right? So I'm trying to solve for a lot of different things. At the same time, I'm kind of holding on to a lot of different functions, whether it is my customers, whether it is my stakeholders, whether it is my engineering. So I'm kind of being the bridge. That's what I think I do. So I'm the bridge, right? What my colleagues think I'm doing is that, okay, probably just reading, and then we don't know what they do with that, right? And of course, my mom, being my mom, will think that, okay, this is what the most stylish thing that I do. So this is something that I'm sure many of us who are involved in different parts of product development and management would have this, persona of the product management or the product manager in our team. Yeah. Okay. So before I kind of jump into my definition of product management, I just want to pause to see if there are any pressing questions. Okay, so what is the difference between a product owner and a product manager? Does a product manager? Okay, so I'll come back to this. Probably before that, I just want to kind of answer this question, which came in that So basically, product management is a very, very loosely used terminology, product management. What I say is that anybody who's building a product is a product builder, right? Whether you call it as a product manager, you call it as a product owner, you call it as a product analyst. Of course, there are certain aspects which are very specific to product analyst, but different organizations use different terminologies and have very different organizational structure depending upon the size of the organization, depending upon the segment to which they are catering to, depending upon the type of the product, depending on the organization's maturity level in terms of the product related processes. Right. So I have been in an organizations in which is an enterprise organizations where I have been a product marketing manager as well as a global product manager. I have been in an organization where I was just doing pure product management, just maintaining my user stories, maintaining my backlog, and I was just coordinating with the marketing where the entire marketing was taken over by a separate product marketing team. So, and then a product owner is again a term which comes out, which is more kind of the agile process methodology outcome, where a product owner has a very specific role in certain organizations. Again, I would say where there is a external facing product manager who will give the inputs, and the whole idea of the product owner is just to make sure that the backlog is prioritized and they know exactly in the next sprint what needs to be executed, and they are on top of the the metrics or the velocity of what we achieve in a certain sprint, right, from testing and all that. And there are two separate roles. So it is kind of very, very, I would say, subjective to the organization there where you're working on. But if you look at the crux of baseline of what needs to be done, we kind of talk about a lot of different aspects which are there in product management. And depending upon the kind of organization that you work for, there could be things which may come into the kitty of product manager versus product owner. And similarly, the naming convention may also change. I would actually like to share that, right? When I started my product management career, almost for the first 5.5 years, I was never involved in pricing. I never knew exactly how pricing was arrived at, because these were all enterprise customers, licensed customers. So there was a completely different pricing team who applied really scientific methodologies to arrive at a pricing. They looked at the entire suite of product, not only my product. So it is absolutely fine that during your lifetime as a product manager, you have not touched upon every single thing, because depending upon the nature of the product that you're handling, it is absolutely possible that you probably would never do pricing. You probably will not do so much of product discovery because you are probably doing a little bit more maintenance of a legacy product. So it would change based on the context of the product you're dealing with. Now, when I talked about a lot of these different functions, streams, type of activities, it is always very confusing for people that is a product manager or a product designer same? Is a technical product manager same as a business product manager? So again, these are very, very contextual to your role. If somebody is dealing with, let's say, a payment platform product, maybe they really need to be very, very technical. They need to understand how an API would work, how the latency would work, and those kind of stuff. So yes, you need to have a technology flair over there. But broadly, if I have to really say what is a product manager's, where do a product management sits? Product management basically sits at the intersection of the business, because no matter what you make, what kind of a product you build, you need to be able to sell it. You need to be able to monetize it. You need to be able to solve a problem, right? And that is where you come to the customer. So when you thinking about a business perspective, you are thinking about how do I make money? How do I sell it to my customers? What is the kind of value I give it to my customer that the customer would be willing to pay money? And how do I define that value proposition that a customer would be willing to pay me X dollars or X rupees for that product? Right? So that is the whole business aspect where you're thinking about sales, marketing, support, that aspect. Then we are coming, ultimately, whatever we are building it for a customer. So one needs to be really, really aware of the customer's unmet needs. What is that the problem today a customer has, which has not been solved? How is the customer solving it today? And how can I build something that I can solve it in a very optimized way, which is very, very user intuitive. Let's say it's a consumer product, or if it is a business process, how do I make sure that my user is able to do his task much more efficiently and effectively? That is why one should, as a product manager, you can never, never lose sight of your customer. And the third aspect, which is a big, big enabler, bringing your, the strategy together, is your technology. What is the right way to solve this problem? What is feasible? What is not feasible? And this is not only from a technology to solve the problem, but also from security, data privacy, scalability, robustness, all these aspects. How do I influence? So a product manager may not be, let's say, I have known some really fantastic product managers who have not done computer science degree. But at the same time, you really need to have a flair for technology. You should be able to build that credibility with your engineering team. You should be able to have that conversation with them to say that, hey, what is that you're doing? So we kind of talk about some of these traits. So kind of just to summarize, a product management is basically actually in the intersection of these three aspects. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Seem to be having some issues. Give me a minute. Ankita, can you hear me?
Yes, Malti, you're audible.
Okay, I seem to be having some issues with my system. It seems to be hanging. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we are there in the next slide. So this is kind of just, a lot of different things I kind of talked about, that a product manager needs to be working with, whether you talk about legal, you talk about, you're working on competitive analysis. So you need to do a lot of market research. You need to do competitive research. You need to talk to your analysts. You are doing press briefings about the launch of your product. So you are talking to the media, you're talking to press, you are pricing your product. You want to know how your product is doing from a performance perspective. So you need to talk to the finance. How do you apply discount? So there's a lot of aspects there. Customers, of course, support, of course, channels. How are you going to push your product? Is it going to go through a mobile app store? Is it going to go through is it a physical product that needs to be shipped to retail outlets? So what are the channels through which it goes? Operations, there is usually so much of operations. For example, if it is a payment product, you need to have a lot of reconciliation. If it is a payroll product, there is a lot of backend that happens where your money movements have happened or not. So that's why you have your operations teams. Executives, you are the CEO of the product. So you need to be constantly be in touch with the senior executives of the organizations, telling them how your product is doing. What are you thinking about the future roadmap? So there is a lot of, managing upwards. That is part of product management. Managing your partners. Imagine a big product like SAP or Oracle who have partners implementing that. So that is very important. So it's a very, very cross-functional, aspect, where we definitely need to work across the different parts of organization. Okay, so now that you kind of got a handle of the amount of, people-oriented, process-oriented, customer-oriented that is, I'm sure many of you would have kind of gone through this, but I really want to emphasize that product management, it's not a discipline in itself. It is kind of a more, in my own definition, the way I see it is that I come from a technology background. I did project management, and now I have been doing product management for 10 years. And I think one thing, the reason I really love this stream, I love this function, is that something new that I learn every single day, whether it is across the functions, whether it is across my customers, whether it is across the industries. Right? So that is something which is extremely, extremely dynamic about this particular function, right? So I think I kind of talked enough that, for a product manager, you are ultimately building products for your customers. So being user-centric, be customer-centric is non-negotiable. There is always some amount of time in your day where you are looking at what your customer needs are. This could be in terms of a market research. This could be in terms of the feedback your customers are giving for your product. This could be looking at ratings that are coming in your app store, or ratings that are coming on Amazon to see how your product is doing. But being extremely customer focused and doing the right things for your customers is a very important skill for for yourself. And for this, when you're doing product discovery, there are plethora of frameworks, tools, whether you talk about customer empathy, whether you talk about customer journey map, which are available to you. If you're talking about managing your reviews, there are plenty of tools, analytics tools like Google Analytics and various others, which kind of literally scrub your data and are able to synthesize this information, and you have to extract this information to really find out how your customers are using your product. So being customer focused is completely non-negotiable, and the product managers have to be doing that. The other important aspect again is I cannot decide what my customer needs without going and meeting my customers, right? I cannot be sitting in my office and say, oh, this is what I think my customer needs. So that is what the last point was being customer centric. Similarly, the second point is that in today's world, especially in the online world, it is becoming even more imperative that I need to understand the data that my customers are giving to me about my product, whether it is my customer demographics, whether it is my product usage. Because I remember 10 years back, 12 years back, when I started to do product management, the only form of metrics I had was that from support, how many calls are coming in, how many messages are coming in, what are these messages specifically, which kind of issues they are talking about, right? And probably on a bigger scale, I had, okay, this industry, we have so many customers, but nothing really much more granular. But over the last years, the amount of data that we have for our customers is like humongous. And as a product manager, if I am not basing my decisions on this data that I am gathering, or the data that I need to seek out, go out, extract, and make sense out of that, as a product manager, the only way I can be successful in delivering something that is delightful for my customers is being data driven, right? So while there is always an angle that I always say that you cannot be only data driven, because there is always a softer side of things that you get when you talk to your customers. So it has to be, the two aspects have to be married. You cannot build something purely based on your gut, and similarly it cannot be very binary, purely on data, while in some cases, yes, it has to be purely on data backed decisions. But please make sure that as you are taking critical decisions for your products, you are extremely conscious of the data that you have synthesized, gathered, and analyzed it really well. The other very important aspect with the whole, the rings and the circles that you saw, one of the most important trait for a product manager is being highly communicative, right? You should be able to write value proposition or messaging that resonates with your customers. You should be able to be empathize with your customers and be able to translate it into the requirements in a way that can be understood by in your engineering. So there is a lot of communication that is happening. You are communicating to your leadership. What is the kind of how are you presenting your roadmap? You are talking to your marketing, you're talking to your sales. So there is so much communication which is happening, which is both verbal, which is both written communications. There needs to be a lot of relationship building that a product manager needs to have, because please don't forget, you are influencing without authority. So you have to really make them understand that why you are doing certain things, which definitely is data backed, but at the same time, articulation is an extremely important trait for a product manager, right? So please focus on that. How do you get better at that? The next thing I would want to talk about is leadership. Now, product manager is somebody who kind of, has to take a lead to say that, okay, this is what we have got. So there are a lot of different aspects here to be able to drive a direction, to be able to influence. So there are a lot of different manifestations, aspects of leadership that a product manager demonstrates, right? So this is an extremely important trait for a product manager to be able to, because a lot of times it will also happen that decision making doesn't happen. So as a product manager, you really need to step in and say that, okay, this is time sensitive. So let's take a decision based on the data points that we have. So leadership qualities are again a very, very important trait for product managers. The next thing is strategic mindset. No matter how much you talk to your customers, no matter how much of data crunching you have done, no matter how much of support people to you have spoken, ultimately, as a product manager, you should be able to join those different dots and looking at the macro conditions, micro conditions, and everything around you, you should be able to articulate, synthesize, and put it in a way which make complete sense that, okay, what is that we should do it in the future, right? From a strategy perspective, to be able to stay relevant for the business, stay relevant for the customer, and have the right technology to power it, right? Of course, I'm not saying that this is something a product manager does all by themselves, but as a product leader, there has to be a lot of cohesion that a product manager has to bring in. And that is where, as a product manager, always have that time when you are just thinking deep down about your product and what needs to be done next, right? So strategic mindset, whether I should build a product, whether I should buy this product, all these kind of things are part of your strategic mindset. So this is an extremely important part. The last one, the trait that I want to talk about is something that I talked earlier, that a product manager has to be able to bring together a lot of different aspects to build a successful product. And one of the very important element of that is to be having a good technology flair. Why I should build something on X tech stack versus why I should use this tech stack, why I should use a X analytics tool and not the right analytics tool, why I should use this prototyping tool versus that. Those are some of the decisions, but what I'm trying to say is that you may not be doing coding over there, but the idea is that you are able to have a sensible conversations with your technologists, with your architects. So it is really important that you are on top of understanding emerging technologies or the technology stack of your product. So this is a extremely important aspect, right? Now, how does, we kind of talked about a lot of different traits. Now, probably showing just a day in the life of a PM will not be very relevant. So I'm going to kind of quickly jump into, these various aspects we talked about. Everything that a PM does can be actually be, segmented in one of these things, where you are connecting and communicating, where you're connecting various teams, you are communicating to them, what are we going to do next? There is a lot of discovery and analysis. So that is why problem solving, being curious how this is being done, and analysis, a lot of data, a lot of research actions, or learning how your product customers are using your product is a very, very important element of your product management day job. And the most important thing is decision making and documenting. You have built a brilliant product, but if the right kind of messaging within the product, right kind of help, right kind of documentations, right kind of blogs, it is not there to educate the users or to educate your power users, your users will not probably understand your product. Especially this becomes even more sensible for enterprise products, right? Which is kind of where there is a lot of documentation which is communicated, whether it is your release notes, there is a new release that you have done, what has gone out with that release. So please make sure that your release notice is as exhaustive as possible. So pretty much the day job of a product manager will encompass one or the other three aspects of that. So this is something which I took from Product Plan. And typically I would say, as a product manager, I think there are two aspects. The first aspect is that when you start your day, the first aspect has to be that, let me go on a defensive mode. Let me put out the fires that are there. I'm sure there are usually some or the other issues that will keep coming up. Something is not working, some customer has escalated. So make yourself available to put out those fires. Understand things which are time sensitive. If there is a pricing proposal that has to go out, it has to go out. So as I said earlier, identify the areas where you are becoming a bottleneck, prioritize that. As much as you do a ruthless prioritization for your products, you need to do a ruthless prioritization for yourself on a daily basis. And that is the only way that you can stay on top of 100 things that are coming your way, and you'll be able to be as efficient and effective as it is, as much as it is possible, right? So that should be a first half, as you can see here, that I want to make sure. The second aspect is that I want to make sure that how my product is being used. So check the numbers, how the product usage is happening. Maybe nothing is burning out there, but I just want to be aware of what is happening. That calls about your customer centricity. The third part is that relationship building. Make sure whether I have one-on-one meeting, I have my group meetings, I have my review meetings with all the stakeholders. Here you can see marketing, customer support, sales support, everything is being done. There is a good amount of time which is being put on research, right? We are talking about customer research, we are talking about user interviews. Apart from all this, please make sure that you're blocking some time just to build on the strategy. So for example, you're talking about your roadmap update. You're talking about understanding how competitive is happening, which is something you probably do alone, and invest on your team, right? So as much as you are doing these things, make sure your product management team is also empowered and sensitized in terms of being on top of these aspects. So this is how this example comes in. Now, we kind of talked about, okay, what it takes to be a great product manager. We talked about how does the day of a product manager looks like. And I'm sure there is this picture that comes into my mind where I have a hammer in my hand and there are things, constantly popping up, and all I'm doing is like this, or the hen. But it's not that bad. I think it is just a art of getting comfortable with it, and of course there are peaks and troughs depending upon the whole where you are with the release cycle of your product, that you may have a lot of things in your hand to kind of deal with, right? And that is where the ruthless prioritization is extremely important. So when we are talking about that I am a business analyst, I'm a project manager, how do I get there? Now, one thing which I always tell is that the best place to start, if you think you want to get into product management, is to first of all look out for opportunities within your existing organization, right? It is much more easier. You understand the people, you understand the process, you understand the culture. So always look out for opportunities wherein you can do like side projects. How can you create things for yourself? So can you do like a side project? Can you look at a product that you really love? Let's say you use Uber a lot, or let's say there is a product that you use for managing your to-do list. If I become a product manager for this, how will I solve for that? So do a product tear down, understand the various features or the use cases that product is solving for. Try to build your own mock-ups, show it to customers. One of the dirty ways of doing it is that probably team up with a couple of other folks, maybe somebody who's a technologist, and try to solve for a problem. I mean, that way India is a country which is a land of opportunities. You just look around, you will find 50 problems that needs to be solved. So take that opportunity, take that leadership, or step up to say that I want to solve this. What is the right way to solve that? And it is okay. There is no one right way of solving it. Iterate on that. The earlier, talk to your customers, learn what what you're trying to create. Is it really solving for them? And if you are able to create something and ship it out, and even if 5 users use it, you have had an experience of building something end to end, right? So I really recommend doing side projects. The next aspect which I talk about is creating opportunities. Look around yourself to say that, could there be a brand new business case for which I can present to my leadership? Many organizations these days are doing internal startups, right? So see if you have that idea which you think has a potential of becoming a startup, right? So participate in these kind of opportunities, whether it is a hackathon, whether it is a internal startup, or if there is just a friend who started to do a startup, can you work with that friend to see how do they go about going through the entire product life cycle of problem discovery, understanding the market, building something. And the most important thing would be, once you have started, done a few of these things, done some side projects, there is this portal called Startup Weekend, right, where you can do weekend projects. So look for these kind of opportunities where you can meet up with other folks and build these products. The next important aspect I want to talk about is that talk to your leaders. Identify if there is an upcoming product management opportunity that is something that you can latch on. Can you shadow another product manager just to understand how does their day goes? So keep your eyes open, have a very open conversation with your leaders, and seize the opportunity. But before that, make sure that you have done your due diligence in terms of getting ready for it. Yeah. Make sure that you are signing up for courses. There is so much of content which is available now on the internet. So evaluate, see what works for you, whether it is a offline program. Now everybody is online, so is there some programs or courses that you can attend from home, just so that you understand the basics, and then you start putting it together with some side projects, as I kind of talked about, right? The next thing, which is really, really important, and this is how actually I grew up, in my own journey of product management. When I started, I was an accidental PM, but what helped me, and my role was very ambiguous. So find your tribe, whether it is within your same organization, whether you go to attend an event, whether you go for a meetup, you attend conferences, online communities, find people on LinkedIn whom you admire, who are your role models, or who are doing product management. And it's okay, ask for help. If you are working on a side project, you are held up, ask for help. If you are a newbie into product management, you just want to learn how other product managers are learning. Somebody is also doing an edutech, or somebody is working on a consumer product. Try to have a virtual coffee with them and understand how do they do it. So find your tribe. There is a lot that one can learn from being a community champion. Volunteer for places like NASSCOM or Product Folks, or there are so many virtual product forums that are there. And I think one thing which again is really, really important is for you to have that accelerated growth, find a mentor for yourself, right? If you are somebody who wants to join a startup as a product manager, if you're somebody who wants to go into product analytics, being as a data product manager, so find the right mentor. Somebody who has done and dusted, and somebody who's willing to invest in your career, right? That goes a long way in being on the right career path, right? So that is really important. So these are some of the tips and the tricks. Of course, different things work for different people depending upon the organization that you are in, depending upon the time availability that you have. Here I have listed a few resources which I usually recommend to my mentees. So hopefully this is something that would also we can share post the call today, post the webinar. But these could be some of the folks you can follow, the communities where you can be part of, some of the books that you can read, especially case studies. Product management is a lot about behavior. It's a lot about problem solving. So please try to do as many case studies as possible. As I said, look around you, you'll find plenty of problem statements. All right, with this, I come to my last slide. As you would see, we have some really, really exciting topics lined up, talking about the career path. What are the various kinds of product managers, from IoT product management to data product management to B2B product management to So what are the various kind of thing, and how does that help in your career path? What are the growth opportunities? What are the various types of product roadmaps one can build with? So stay tuned in, and there is a lot of rich content coming on your way. Okay, I think that is the last slide, and as it says, this is all my personal viewpoints based on my own experiences. Okay, I come to the last slide, and I think we're still on time, and I'm open to take any questions. Ankita, you want to?
Hi, Malti. Thanks for the session. So let's move on to our next Q&A round. Malti, would you like me to speak out the questions, or would you like to have the relevant ones first? Are you able to view the Q&A?
Yes. I can see that. So probably let's start with that. So I think, what is the difference between a program manager and a product manager? Okay, I think I kind of briefly touched upon this. A program management is kind of more focused on achieving a program, which is more time driven, which is a time bound, which is more like a project, the outcome for which necessarily is not a software product, but it could be a consulting solution, it could be a custom development, whereas a product development has a tangible outcome. A product manager in most of the organization, especially the one which I have experienced, while they interface with a lot of different stakeholders, they are not managing the milestones or the program itself. You will usually have a program manager doing the due diligence of making sure that all the strings are held tightly for running the program. So then you had mentioned about the need for influencing without authority to develop this skill. Okay, that's interesting. Somebody would be listen to you only once you have built that credibility, you have invested into that relationship, they respect you, they trust you, right? So all the different traits that I talked about, they all comes over a period of time. So make sure that you are investing enough time in knowing your product, in knowing your customer, in knowing your market. Second thing is that be an empathetic listener, because as a product manager, I don't know everything, but I want to make sure that I take the best recommendations and the best viewpoints to build what is right for my customer and for my organization and the business. So make sure that you are factoring that in, and yes, as much as possible, build your subject matter expertise. While you can, maybe you are not the the only go-to person, but make sure that you have the right relationship so that at any point of time, if you have doubts, you're able to reach out to them. But as a product manager, especially in the B2B space, it becomes even more important that you have a deep domain knowledge and you become a subject matter expert for your product, especially in India. Can a non-IT person be a product manager for an IT product? Yes, definitely not. As I said, it is more of a business acumen, customer acumen, but at the same time, it has to be somebody who is very open to learn about technology, right? So that is very important. Why would a company hire a new PM, that to a newbie, while these companies already having PMs looking after some products? You're right. Very difficult for a company to hire a new PM unless they are directly hiring from universities, unless they are directly hiring from for a specific PM, what do they call that? PM rotation roles, wherein they are hiring an APM, which is the entry level. Otherwise, usually the organizations would prefer people having some experience. And that is the reason I said, if you are a new PM and want to get into product management, focus on your existing organization, because it is easy to make that switch there. Okay, willing to transition into PM role from a validation quality, had been with product as whole while testing and can understand the pain and is willing to, how tough and accepted is in industry. See, definitely, even when I build up my own team, it is very important that we have the right mix of people. We have people who are brilliant in certain aspect of product management skills. We definitely need people who are subject matter experts. And I had this experience of somebody who moved from quality into product management. So I would say that as long as somebody is coachable, as long as somebody has an attitude and a willingness to learn, and kind of tick mark on certain aspects of the product requirement, because obviously when we are hiring somebody, we cannot be spending a lot of time in kind of coaching that person. People need to be to be able to deliver the outcomes and all that. But at the same time, if you are somebody who kind of tick marks on the traits that I talk about, you definitely, there would be a lot of hard work in the initial days, but as long as it is coachable, I don't see that it should be difficult to transition. I mean, I have seen a lot of different people who have transitioned from non-PM or quality to this role. Some day-to-day tools used by PMs. Yes, PMs use a lot of PPT. PMs use a lot of Excel. PMs use a lot of tools to manage their user stories like Jira, Trello. They use tools like Asana, AHA to manage their roadmap. They use a lot of Google Docs kind of things to do collaboration. They would use a lot of prototyping tools like Balsamiq. So what was it called? Intervision, to kind of manage the prototypes. So yeah, what are the challenges that you have faced as a PM in your journey? So I wouldn't say that PM is the only role that faces challenges. Every role comes within it. So I think one of the steep challenges for me was when I moved from enterprise to consumer products. There I was handling few hundred, maybe 1,000 customers, and then I come into a product which has 10 million users, right? And I think that was the point where I really had to build a lot of muscle in terms of doing user research, right? Plus understanding the product analytics part of it, because I cannot go to million customers to ask for how you're using my product versus a few hundred where it is much more easier. So that was, I think, one of the few key challenges. But as I said, I think one of the reasons that I love doing product management is that there is always something new to learn. And that is something I really, really emphasize everybody, not only PMs, is that to stay relevant, one always should be very, very open to upskill themselves, to learn things which may comes in various forms and fashions. For those who do not have formal technical education, what advice would you give to build their tech knowledge? So the good news is that there are bunch of platforms, online platforms that we have there today. So I would suggest that always be aware of what are the emerging technologies. While you may not be a technical product manager, I myself did a botany honors, but then, of course, over a period of time, I learned computer science, and then I started as a developer. So as long as you have an aptitude and an attitude, I don't think it is really difficult, right? Okay. What are the challenges? How to specialize as an IoT product manager? Maybe we will take that as an input for the upcoming thing where we talk about various industry types. Why MBA is mandated for most organizations? Okay, I really want to probably take this because this is a question that a lot of people ask. See, is MBA really, really mandatory for your job? I would say no, because there are a lot of skills that one develops, that especially if you have had prior experience, that you learn over the job, whether it is people management, whether it is conflict management, whether it is understanding how business works. But where MBA helps you is when we are talking about the overall market, when we are talking about the business. If you remember the diagram that I talked about, where product management sits between business, customers, and technology, having an MBA degree actually helps you much more aware, better prepared to handle the business part of it, and to some extent the customer part of it, because you study things like marketing, sales, and all that. So it kind of makes you more aware. The case studies that you would have done in your B schools makes you much more aware and be more thoughtful of your approach. In product management, what is really, really important is, with all the data around you, with all the support that you get around you, what is the approach that you take and why do you take that, right? So the whole approach aspect is very, very important. And I think having an MBA definitely prepares you better for that, right? Okay, Ankita, do we still have more time?
We can take one more question, Malti.
Okay.
There are a few questions here over the chat window.
Okay.
Shall I speak out one?
Yeah, sure.
What is the growth path of a PM and what defines his or her success? I think we have kind of taken over that questions. Okay. For those who do not have a formal technical education, what advice would you give to build their tech?
I talked about that.
I think then shall we take this one? You had mentioned about the need for influencing without authority. Do you have any suggestions, resources to develop the skill?
Yes, I talked about that, Ankita. I already took. Sorry, I think I went really fast with a lot of questions.
Okay, how do we decide on priorities? Marketing sales team come up with, say, 5 new features they want to market the product.
Okay, can you say the question again, please?
Yeah, I'll repeat. How do we decide on priorities if marketing and sales team come up with, say, 5 new features they want to market the product?
Okay. See, I think as a day job for a product manager, one of the important challenges, somebody asked me for the challenges, is always to make sure that how do you do the right prioritization. There are a lot of frameworks which are available, like a Keno model or a 2x2 or a weighted average. But still, how do you make sure that you get the right thing? So if your marketing and sales team is coming up with every feature requirement that comes up to a product manager, I think one of the key thing to measure is that what is the kind of impact that it is creating, right? Is it solving a problem for my customer? Am I able to make money out of that? So just because it has come from your marketing sales team doesn't mean that you need to honor that, right? So typically as a product manager, marketing and sales is just one channel for creating the requirements. There are a lot of channels, and you cannot apply the lens to say that, okay, this has come from marketing and sales, so I need to do that. You need to have a more pragmatic view about what is the right thing to be delivered in the product, which is right for the customer, right? And right for the business. So you need to really step back, look at the overall product backlog from a holistic view, apply the right lens, which could be in terms of the frameworks that you're using, or the decision making process within your PM team, the processes that apply, or as well as your own due diligence to figure out what is the right priority, what are the right things that you're going to do, and make sure that you close the loop with the marketing and the sales team, because they gave you the input, they gave you the feedback. You may say, hey, you gave me these 5. Unfortunately, I'm not able to honor these 5. I'm able to do these 2. And these are the reasons why we are not doing the 3. But we have it in our backlog, and we will circle back on that probably during the next review meeting. So that is how prioritization usually happens.
All right. Thank you so much, Malti, for this amazing sessions. The insights you shared on what is required to be a PM, what it takes if you are the CEO of your product. I really enjoyed this session, and I'm sure everyone must have learned something new to get into this PM role. I will meet to all the audience. I will meet all of you on 19th of November with another interesting episode from PM 101 series, which is Product Management Career Path. For more details, please visit nascom.in/events. Till then, keep learning, stay safe, and thank you so much, Malti, for your time and efforts. Thank you everyone for coming and attending this session. Bye from my side.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed doing this session, Ankita. And I want to reiterate what Ankita said. Please mark these sessions on your calendar and make sure that you attend them. You may find answers to some of them which I couldn't answer today in these follow-up sessions, and you will be definitely highly benefited. Thank you so much.